Join me in Oreo. If you saw my title, Retro Overload. My God. Trying to go through and work with all this retro stuff. And then had all those releases talked about this weekend. We got a lot going on. We got a lot to talk about, a lot on the bench, a lot coming up in the game. Lady D may come out to us a little bit later. She's in quite a bit of pain. Her back's messed up. As it is. And now we are on to our regularly scheduled content. How are you, crafters? How you doing today? Man, I haven't had an Oreo in so long. I forgot how good these are. They're like crack. I think that's one of the main components of the cream in the middle. It's actual crack. That's delicious. So, hello, Governor. Good to see you. So, if you saw the live stream this weekend, I received another load of lovely retro games. Like a lot. Like a lot. I now have a second fully complete, except for maybe one or two mixers. I have a second edition box. I got a boatload of more figures. Most of which are Terminators, of all things. Well, and then like 5 kilos worth of orcs. About a half and half modern orcs-ish modern. I should say half and half. Like I could. I mean, it's kind of scary. There is some stuff that came about that I'm going to be showing off tonight. Because, again, the retro was amazing. Again, I have a nearly complete, except for a couple figures, a second full second edition box set. I have to re-glue it back together, maybe do some touch-ups in the paint. But I have all the pieces to an original plastic orc battle wagon, which is like 1992, 1993. I have this is still produced in resin. It's the exact same kit. But I have the Rune Priest in Terminator armor. I've got, this is also still produced in resin, but I have a copy of Nell. Although I have the Primaris version of him, was produced in resin until recently. I now have the Ragnar Blackmane in lead, well, in what do you call it? In pewter. And with as cool and as interesting and as different as all that is. Hey, Greg. I think the real thing, this piece, I can honestly say, this almost brought me to tears. And I don't say that with shame. I say that with pride, that this piece almost brought me to tears. The back stand that goes on this backpack is in the boxes of stuff. But here we have in lead, or it might even be in lead. This might be old enough that it's in lead. What looks like a really fancy wolf lord with a chainsword and a really fancy cape. But what this actually is, as a tab on his bottom of his feet can say, and I don't know if you can pick that up or not. Probably not. Yeah, it's not coming in. This is Layman Russ. This is the actual first Primark figure they ever produced. And he was a promo figure. He wasn't really playable at the time. He was just meant as a figure to have and to paint up and be cool. And I have him. And that's amazing. There was a figure that I had 2 copies of that I gave one to my man Commodore because it's listed just as a Space Marine commander. And after looking up some more information, actually finding his details, Commodore actually called it right looking at it. That is actually the prototype for Marneus Calgar. So, pretty cool. I also managed to have the prototype figure for the Sanguinor and Cato Sicarius in that box before they were even named figures, but they were the figures that got turned into that. So it's pretty crazy. And it's still a ton of more blister packs and more figures. One of the big things, like I said, there's a bunch of Terminators. I'm actually cleaned up a lot, and primed for this new retro army that I'm going to build. So here's my command staff, which actually, oddly enough, the captain, I had to find a different arm for. But that was a reproduction of the captain that's on the cover of the second edition box. I also put together a librarian and a chaplain. So I have my command unit put together. And all of them in lead and or pewter. It's heavy. It's hard to describe. They're incredibly heavy. And then I'm putting together the first squad of 10 old Marines, which are built, and I mean, it's a lot of super glue involved because these are mainly metal with some plastic bits on them. But I've got them put together and primed. And then I found plastic kits in there. For Terminators. Now, I believe these are from Space Hulk. These were from the second box set that was a Blood Angels add-on, but they're the same figures as the regular ones. And then this, 2 squads of Terminators, 5 of which actually still have the original aerials on them. They weren't that badly beat up. But of the original Space Hulk Terminators. Oh, look. Here she comes. Let me move my thing out of the way for the quip.
Having a small argument over whether or not some certain big kitty that we know is a dork or if he's just goofy.
Let me move the camera and move a couple things here.
Where did he get those spray sticks? Well, Greg, the spray sticks are actually nothing more than the thank you.
Let me show you an unpainted one. These
Do you
are.
have any unpainted ones?
I bought a whole pack of them.
I didn't know you were buying them.
For $1? Yeah.
I thought you were just stealing them.
No, they were $1, so I got a pack of a dozen. These are paint stirrers.
Yeah,
the ones
that's
that you
all
use.
they are.
These are the paint stirrers like you use for like a gallon of paint. Two-sided tape. I put 5 figures on there, and then I can spray them, turn them upside down, and prime them and whatnot.
When
And
it says two-sided tape, we're going to show you actually what he uses.
I use mounting tape.
Yeah, we use two-sided mounting tape. We get these actually from the dollar store.
Because this is $1. You go anywhere else, this is $5.
Yeah, we've done that.
But these are little single tabs, so they're already pre-cut.
Yep. Some of them suck. You have to be careful. We tried using the removable temporary ones, and they wouldn't hold anything.
Super Glue makes a brand of mounting tape. I put 2 of them on there if it's a larger figure, 1 if it's a smaller figure, and they stick on. I mean, I got a retro pack of bikes, but 1 under each wheel. And oddly enough, the original bikes came with 5 in the pack, so I've got 5 retro bikes. So I'm got the beginnings of my retro army built. I'm going to be getting the paint job on them soon. They're just primed and ready to go.
I'm having a conversation with all 7.
Let me move the camera so that.
Forgive me, I'm having a conversation with some friends and lost an argument.
Even though you're supposed to be on the stream and paying attention to the stream.
All right. I'm ignoring them even though they are.
Just tell them
It's okay.
that you have a live stream. Maybe they could show up and say hi.
Well, considering only 2. Okay. I'm not allowed to talk about this.
Yeah.
I promised. Anyway, so I'm going to interrupt real quick so that everybody can understand why I'm crippled today.
Because she was crippled yesterday.
So, those of you who are new to the channel, I have a bad back. Long story short, supposed to have surgery, didn't get the surgery, lost the insurance. Okay, whatever. Well, okay. So, yesterday while I was at work, I basically got found out in a very roundabout way. Oh, by the way, congratulations, you're the new framing manager at the Michaels I work at. Yay. And we have a reset that's coming up on Thursday morning that we don't have the hours to put for, so we set it up tonight. And that includes 6 metal panels that had to be taken off 4 of them had to be taken off the wall, disassembled, put back together, then 4 of them framed.
Disassemble. No disassemble.
Yes, I had to disassemble.
No disassemble.
I know. But then put it all back up. And I just had weather, bad back, human barometer. Yay. So,
Greg, real quick point here. One of the other things I do, and I want to point this out because this is actually something I talk about every once in a while. Number 5 is alive.
Johnny 5 is alive.
Okay, so here's the thing. You may notice I've got a figure here on what I call a painting handle. These are just regular pill bottles that are filled with sand to give them some weight, and they're a good grip. But you know what? So I got a figure on top of that, and now he's not. And now he is. So, quick tip for you. What I do is I get these nickel-sized magnets. They're refrigerator magnets from Joann's or from Michael's. You can get like a pack of like 20 or 25 of them for, like $5.
Yep.
And I will hot glue them right onto the top.
Sometimes he's with some of them he's done it inside,
and I found that those don't work as well. That's why I don't talk about that anymore. I glue them right on top.
I knew this. He doesn't tell me.
I glue them right on top.
Here's my hat. I was looking for one of my Halloween hats.
And then after I've primed it, I take the figure and I use the two-sided tape to put them on a washer. And then now I've got a painting handle. And when I'm not working on them, I can take the figure and put it down in a tray and take the next figure I'm working on and pick it up and put it on my painting handle. So it goes along with the sticks. I take them, I prime them on here, and because I'm getting the two-way tape pretty cheap, pull it off, sticker them onto a washer. I can usually get a box of 1-inch washers to 1.5-inch washers. I can get a box of like 30 to 50 of them from Menards for about $5. And then because I like doing this, when I'm done, I will take the washers and glue them into the underside of the base, because when they're all plastic figures, I find they're very light and they're easy to knock over. And I can do things like lay down a sheet of magnet, like refrigerator magnet sheet, and put that in the inside of a box, and I can put all of them on the magnet. In the case of these metal figures, I don't think I'll need to do that. I think they'll be weighty enough on their own, but, you know, as you do. So that's 2 hobby tips for you in one night.
There's more than one hobby tip. There was more than 2 in there.
Sticks, washers.
Mounting tape. Same.
Cheap painting handle rather than the official brand new painting handle that's coming out from Games Workshop.
We are not going to get.
We can talk about that one, but here's the thing.
No, see, Ben says, shh. We don't talk about that.
We can talk about it.
We don't talk about
we just don't talk about what it looks like. That's what we do here. We try to make hobbying easy and cheap.
What he's always been about.
Yeah. And not about the painting handle. See, here's the thing. I like painting handles. I like them. I like having them. The problem is the official GW current painting handle is like $10. This is a bottle I was going to throw away. There's 25 magnets for $5. I have like 20 of these, so I can put an entire squad on painting handles. I don't have to take them off the handles. Work on one, put the next one on, put the next one on, and just put all 5 next to each other, and I can pick one each up at a time, and I can look at them all next to each other. So I find it useful. As you can tell by the layers of paint, if I'm working like on a single figure, I won't even put them on the stick. I'll just put them on here and prime them right on here. So it also is good because the magnet lets you hold them upside down, so you can make sure you get your primer in all your good angles.
He used to put the washers on the bottom of the stands themselves when he would put them on the bases, because that's actually how he keeps them in his carrying cases. He puts a sheet down of a magnetic sheet down, and he just sets them
on some of them. I'm kind of moving away from it because that magnetic sheet isn't strong enough. I'm actually looking at going the other route.
I could have told you that.
Putting magnets in the bottoms of the bases and getting metal sheets.
Where would we get those? Where wouldn't you get them? We live in Milwaukee. Never mind.
Sheet metal.
But like I said, we live in Milwaukee. Never mind.
Menards.
I want to stand up and try and...
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. I want to just get the gesso on. I need to seal it so I can start painting it.
Okay. You go try it. All right. I'm going to tell you, the other reason we're talking about that paint handle...
No, can we not talk about the paint handle? That just, it still scares me.
Their tagline for it. It's sleeker. It's better. It's
grippier.
It's grippier. Yeah. All right. That being said, I'm All right. So what? Like I said, this is what I have going on. I mean, I've primed and I've built an army. I'm hoping to get these guys put together because they're about 1,000 points. So I'll have 1,000 points of my new army to build as soon as I get it. Did I see the new paint shaker? If that's the one that you put in that chat, that's awful. Hilarious, but awful. Especially given that how much those wands cost. Now, as a flip side, if you actually want a paint shaker, if shaking it by hand is not getting it done for you, and you want a paint shaker, I go back to doing things on the easy and doing things on the cheap. Since doing nail art and doing manicure stuff has gotten to be really super, super, super popular and super, super affordable for people, there are little shakers that you put your nail polish in, clips it in place, you start up, and well, here's the thing. They're like 10 to 15 bucks for them. And they fit paint pots just perfectly. I don't bother because I can shake my own paints, but I know people that really like doing it with like metallics and whatnot. That was my thought. I've seen a few that were kind of funny. A couple of people doing. Oh, also in that box, just thinking about what else is on the bench because I mean it's been a busy weekend. This thing got completely rehabbed. The base coat's on there. I now just got to do some highlighting and do some of my secondary painting. But this was in the box, a retro Chimera, fully built. Calf coming apart. I tried to put it back together. I glued some pieces in, gave it a base coat of paint. I got to put some browns and some blacks on it, finish up the camo pattern, and then start putting metallics in and wash it. But I got another Chimera. So, you know, my Imperial Guard even got some love. So yeah, I mean, this whole retro thing, it's kind of made me, honestly, I was getting kind of burnt out on the hobby. I'm not going to lie. I was like, oh, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do something else. I was getting a little burnt on it. And I can't even really tell you why. Painting 300 figures in the last 9 months, maybe part of it. But then these 2 boxes of retro love that I got from my buddy Fred. I've kind of fallen in love with the hobby all over again. I love the character of these lead figures. I love that they're all in separate poses and they're so small and dainty and ridiculous and have so much character. Some of these figures are ugly and distorted and weird looking, and I love them. So I'm really loving this retro army I'm putting together.
How are you supposed to shake the paint shaker?
Yeah, that would be one way you could do it, although you really want to put some twist in there too, which I would not recommend if you're a young teenage boy, because if you're not properly trained, you'll pull something, and that's not good. Talking about paint. All right. So what the Lady D is also, because to respond to something Commoner said earlier.
What?
Did you mention the fact? I didn't even notice.
Did I mention the fact that I got the job?
Yeah, you did.
Yes, I did.
You did. I had to think about a minute. You ignored something I said, so I ignored something you said. It's a fair trade.
But you do that all the time.
And so do you. It's great.
No, I really don't.
We repeat each
Unless
other.
I'm doing it right now, where I'm ignoring your instructions and talking to my boys.
My wife doesn't love me anymore.
No, I'm talking to my boys.
Tuesdays.
2 of them said sorry.
Can you take a foot and push that box over here, or would that hurt too much?
I don't know. I was going to try and sit down and talk.
Just push it. I just want to push within reach. I don't want to take up your spot. I just want it within reach.
Yeah, which would be so. Look at that, he's knocking stuff over.
Yeah, whatever. So,
Cookie and Hoagie said sorry.
Commodore recently
I could be doing this a lot more lewd.
Commodore recently bought the Imperial Bastion. And I just thought it was funny because I found out about it on Friday. And on Saturday, I got an Imperial Bastion.
By the way, I have to show this.
Is cardboard. Is cardboard. It's hilarious. And this is an official GW kit. It's hilarious.
I found out what happened to these guys.
They were squatted.
No, I found out.
Yeah, they were eaten by Tyranids.
Yes, all but one.
Unofficially. There's no official answer for what they are. Yes, we have to show these off. Like I said, the retro thing, the reason I was bringing it up is that the retro thing has reignited my passion for this game because it's all the things that I fell in love with this game 30 years ago. Squats. No, it says Space Star. So squats.
It even says it on the side. They're like, they're squat. Yeah, no, apparently in a book called Inquisitor, which is really interesting because his name is Draco, and apparently there's a character, his uncle's name is Vernon, whose son apparently was eaten by Tyranids or something like that. Ah!
We should get a subscription to White Dwarf. It's only $27.
I'm pretty sure it's not anymore.
Well, it is. All you have to do is put your credit card on the outside of the card and put this in the mail to them.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But apparently in this book, they mentioned that all the squats were eaten by Tyranids, which gave the Tyranids the ability to be short.
Squats. They're hilarious looking. They're so much fun.
And I've heard that this book is really, really bad.
I know a lot of people were really mad
that the squats win.
about. I mean, it's become a term. It's become a term in fandom lore to be squatted.
What, to be eaten by a Tyranid?
To be basically, that book came out well after the squat line just stopped being produced. They just stopped producing them and didn't say anything about it. And then, like 5 years later, they put them in a book. Oh, they're all dead.
Except for one. In the original version of the book,
yeah,
there's a squat that's hanging out with a rogue Inquisition whose name was Draco, Jacques Draco. And then in later versions of the book, he was retconned and they changed him into a tech priest.
Right. Here's the thing. There's at least 2 squats I know of right now in the game. Because there's 2 squats that are figured in Blackstone Fortress.
Oh, well, yeah. So they'd be the last 2 of their race, apparently.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. And I should probably stop.
Squats! The other wonderful thing that came in this box of retro goodness Orcs. A huge, gigantic box still on the sprue of Space Orcs. And this is incredible. There's a few that aren't, but for the most part, these guys are still all on the sprue. I mean, that's a whole lot of plastic in here. And that's a whole lot of orc dwarves, which I'm going to... No, Digonobs are people. Yes, Digonobs are people. Yes. Diggas are people. You would have had to play Gorka Marka to understand Diggas. Diggas are humans that were stranded on the orc homeworld.
Why are they green?
They're not green. They paint themselves green because they want to be like orcs.
Well, you gotta live there. You can't beat them. Join them. You know that whole well and rush.
Yeah, there's the twin ratlings. Ratlings are effectively dwarves. They're effectively squats, as I understand
They
it.
don't really exist in the 40K.
You can get rattling snipers all the time. You can get rattlings all over the place.
I thought the Ratty Imperium was, not real.
No, those are the ratlings. They're two different things. Now, the other thing I got, which I am super, super excited about, and I'm talking about with people, are this utterly complete Necromunda. I am so incredibly excited about Necromunda that I want to go and start immediately reading over the rules and figuring out how all these pieces go together. You know, you say that, Gurin. I saw somebody take a box of Skaven and a box of Tau and kit bash the Skaven in the Tau. It was
That's awesome.
hilarious.
That's just awesome.
Yes, Critter. Good, yes. But I mean, this retro stuff is just so awesome. I mean, going over some of this stuff and just seeing, I mean, the way they expected figures to be painted back then, this bright and colorful and ridiculously bright, colorful style. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love this style.
Oh my God, I hate the sponge.
And this retro army that I'm building, Indeed, Space Skaven.
Space Skaven. Oh God. As the rest of the universe kind of goes, okay, seriously, what just happened here? Where did the rats come from? Earth? Oh shit. They even have a ratty emperor.
Now, I mean, the nice thing about there's also these catalogs. There's also they show some of the older games in here, like Epic, which originally wasn't called Epic, was originally called Space Marine. This original box set for Space Marine, or Epic as we know it, is incredible. Look at these buildings that are in here. There's these little buildings that are plastic topped, and then all those armies, and then there's a Titan in there. There's a Khorne Warlord Titan that's about the size of a dreadnought compared to everybody else. And then there was all these extra. I mean, this is just so absolutely cool. And there was a lot of figures that showed up in Epic before they showed up. Oh, and then here's Man of War. Man of War was one of the games that was being the influence on what almost became Warcraft, which later became World of Warcraft, which is why the second expansion has all these ships, because they were really trying to get this going. And it's just such a great game. And then you just get these figures and these paint jobs in here. And oh my gosh. I mean, these paint jobs, they're just these retro paint jobs. It's so funny to see how far. I mean, these are considered top-notch, heavy metal quality pro painted figures. Now, back in those days, and nowadays, this is like beginner stuff. You look at it compared to the way how people paint their figures nowadays, and it's just like, wow, we've really gone a long distance. So cool. Absolutely just so cool. And you also, when you see these figures, there's just so many changes. And that's what I really like about it.
Did you show them your favorite one yet?
Yeah, I went over all that earlier. I was showing those off earlier. I was all excited. I was talking with Commodore, and we're actually thinking about putting together like a podcast where we talk about, the history of the game and where things have changed as to where the lore is now and where the lore was and how it got there and where the changes have been. And I'm working on some initial scripts, and he and I got to get together and talk about it some more. Because like
you put a script together for that, but you won't let me write scripts for this.
Says the person that's not even sitting down and being part of this conversation.
I'm sorry, I'm actually crafting. And this brush sucks too.
Well, yeah.
I'm just trying to get brush, across this giant ass thing.
So then use a big brush.
I can't find things for us.
What's that?
This is a paintbrush. So, okay, sure, if you don't mind.
I don't care. It was $1.
Was it?
Yeah, if that. I think we got 3 for $1.
I am drinking that entirely too fast.
Yeah. I also picked up, if you look over whereby Lady Dragon is showing up, if she points at the bookshelf next to her, you'll see 2 box sets. A copy of Hero Quest and a copy of Space Marine. So
no, Space Crusade.
Space Crusade, you're right, because Space Marine was epic. So we've got a lot of, this retro feel, and I really want to kind of embrace this whole retro thing here. I really want to get these guys painted in a retro style. I was originally going to paint these guys in like shades of gray and have them look like they'd blast off their armor. And I've realized if I want to do them retro, I have to do them in bright colors. So I'm right now trying to decide on a color to paint them. I think they're going to be purple. I think they're going to be very purple. Like purple and gold. My purple Marines. My death speakers. So, so that's what's on the bench, and that's what's going on with the bench, and that's what's going to be going on with the bench at least through the end of the year. I mean, I'm going to be working on some projects. I'm going to be working on some videos and some crafting stuff. Oh, yeah, the Moot Green base. Actually, I was talking to someone on Reddit today, and they figured out how to recreate Moot Green. For doing the GW style old school bases. So I may do that. I may not go that far because that might be going just a little too far. I am going to put them on. If you notice, I am clipping the tabs off. I will be gluing them down. I actually probably be pinning them to bases. Do it. I don't know. I never liked the Moot Green sand. I was always like, why don't you just put some flocking on there? Just God.
It's green sand, damn it.
But just put some flock on it. It's nice. It's just nice.
Yeah, well, you know what? If I can have some green sand, God damn it.
I might ring them in green. Make the figures purple and then make the rings on them bright Moot Green. That would be hilarious.
Which one are we talking
about? My God. There was a style to doing bases back in the day, Shan.
Oh, that has the
if you look at these figures, every single one of them did this. They paint the base green.
Uh-huh.
They put sand on the base.
Uh-huh.
They paint it green.
Yeah, like it's grass.
And then they take a little bit of Averland Sunset, or in fact, a bright yellow, and then they would just dry brush a little yellow over the top of the green.
Yeah.
And that is their base. And the reason they did that is because they wanted their bases, because back in the day, you didn't have fancy battle mats. You did what everybody else did. You went to the railroad store.
And you built one.
No, it was even before that. You would go to the railroad shop and you would get those grass mats. It's basically a roll of green felt.
Okay.
That looks like grass.
Okay.
Yeah, felt, F-E-L-T. Or they would get the grass mats, which look kind of like really low pile static grass. And they just roll them out and glue them down on the boards. And that's what you would play on.
Oh, yeah, because,
Because that was what they did back then. Because that was the hobby back then. It was funny. I've talked about this before. That's something I've talked about, is that you look at how the hobby has evolved. You look at how the hobby has evolved, and that goes back to why model enthusiasts and railroad enthusiasts and all them get into this hobby as well. Modeling was really popular, started getting really popular in the U.S. in the 50s due to the cheapness of plastic. And people were just building the models and painting them. That was cool. Now, at that point, you had railroading was already popular in the United States. I'm talking specifically the United States, but it was the United States and England as well. They were both kind of in that same boat. And so you had the railroading guys, and the railroading guys were immediately all over. We got to make this look like it's a recreation. So they were doing huge terrain backdrops, painted backdrops. Yeah, and it's funny. You'd have these people doing crazy stuff in railroading, and then the modeling guys,
like, hey,
when they got into the 70s, they started going, hey, we could use some of these techniques. And you saw this jump in the 60s to the 70s where you go from people doing these kits that look like plastic reproductions of models to suddenly people are starting to do museum level creations. And they're using tips and tricks they picked up from railroaders on how to make these things. You start to see weathering. You start seeing weathering pigments and weathering oils and rust effects. And you start seeing the conversion groups start becoming really popular in the early and mid 70s, and magazines of modeling. You start seeing people going crazy on these conversions. And you're seeing how these techniques were moving from railroading into plastic modeling. And then in the 70s, really was when wargaming, in the late 60s and early 70s, wargaming really picked up. And people who wanted to be, especially like the Napoleonics, they wanted to be accurate their color, but they didn't do any washes. They were doing this color's this and this color's this, and they were using very fine brushes and just getting the colors in place, and that was enough. And then, you had in the 80s, you started having people now starting to use washes a little bit because they're picking things up from railroading, but they were doing a little bit there, and they're doing a little bit of detail there, and it's still bright colors and Blanchitsu, I forget Blanche's first name. I think it's Steve. Steve Blanche, he started doing art for Games Workshop, and then he started painting figures. And he had a completely different idea about painting figures and being more sketchy-like and using darker tones and using more blended tones. And he started doing this and started doing with the art, instead of it being this stark, bright, upright, left, right, bright primary colors, he started using lots of dark shades and shadows and whatnot, and that started working its way into the figures. And as his style became more popular, well, how did you do that? Well, he used to be a modeler, and he used to be a railroader, and so he was using those techniques. And now you see people doing the terrain and using those techniques. And nowadays, doing things the way that they did back in the 80s, people don't do that anymore. That looks ridiculous. It looks terrible. It doesn't look terrible. It's a different style. It
looks like a different style.
Yeah, it's just a completely different style of painting. Like with me, I have almost always, even back in the day, even during the days of sand and moot green, I never painted my bases green. I never did. I never liked that look. I just never did. Like my first figures for 40K, they weren't even 40K. I should say my first figures for Warhammer that I painted solidly were Blood Bowl. And so I painted their bases to look like they were on astrogranite. So they were mottled gray. But the colors were, and if you know the old Blood Bowl, different positions were assigned colors. And since some of the figure sets, all the figures were identical, the only way you could tell them apart was the number and the color of the ring. You'd often paint the ring the position. Like receivers were yellow and linemen were gray. The thrower was white. Blitzers were red. I forget who was green. I think blockers were green. So you had them painted in a specific way. But then that top area, I would often do those in like mottled gray to make it look like they're playing on astrogranite. When I did my high elf army, I rimmed the bases I rimmed them in dark brown because my whole army had this theme that they were coming from the deep woods. So instead of being that bright blue and white, I was using a deep blue and a dark green. And so the deep blue took place to the white and the dark green took place of the blue, if you remember the traditional high elf style. So their bases were a brown base, and the flocking on top was actually done in dark olive greens, and I used railroad flocking. So it was like dark bunches, lots of bushes and whatnot. And that was why it was funny. They weren't really painted that good. I'm going to be honest with you. Ben, I gotta say, I did see your elves. I thought your paint scheme for those guys was absolutely gorgeous. I really love the way you're using blue and orange together. I mean, again,
I'm done.
Are you done?
Yep, I was just putting this on. Now I gotta go clean my brushes.
Yeah. I love seeing highly contrasting colors like that. And you don't see people use blue and orange together except in sports. And I love the way those figures looked. I thought they were really, really cool, Ben. I really did. The thing is that, and that was, again, a really funny thing. I've seen a couple guys talk about it recently. It's that whole contrasting colors on the color wheel. There's a bunch of painters nowadays that, they talk about color theory, where, contrasting colors to draw things out. But now there's this whole push recently but you don't want to go crazy. You don't want to make it garish. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it is garish, because if it was garish, you wouldn't see every freaking movie poster is orange and blue. The two colors contrast well and complement each other as long as they make sense on the figure, or make sense in the painting, make sense in the picture. If you're trying to convey, something, and I think, that's something that, again, Blanchitsu, the style of painting Blanche, has pushed people away from using high contrasting tones. They want high contrast. You want to have black, you want to have dark tones, mid-tones, light tones, high tones, and work your way up. But they don't want to have this, I'm going to use green and purple together, or I'm going to use blue and yellow together, or I'm going to use blue and orange together, or I'm going to use red and green together, or red and blue together. They're like, that's too extreme. And yet it's funny, if you look at the classic schemes for a lot of the older model lines, like the Eldar. The Eldar are all about being very garishly colored. You say green-red is too Christmas, but
they're contrasting colors that actually complement each other according to the colors.
And they do. It's just a matter of thinking a very crimson red, and a very pine green. There's your Christmas color. Now, what happens if you work with, say, a maroon red and like a deep blue green? Those two colors would contrast.
Red and purple.
Red and purple, or again,
have a quilt.
Right. But I mean, talking pure contrast, red and green. The other way you can go is doing like a dark red, but then a verdigris green, like a using the red of a bronze, but then having that green verdigris running off of it. Again, you're using these bright contrasts, these polar opposites on the colors wheel. And a lot of it's about execution too. You can take some really garish colors and make a really garish looking figure. I think it's Eondon, which is one of the Eldar houses. Their colors are yellow and blue. And if you look at their classic paint schemes, they're like their 80s and early 90s paint schemes. They look like a football uniform. They're bright blue and bright yellow, and there's distinct lines.
Lions?
No, the Rams.
Uh-huh.
They're very blah. But then they still do it because if you look at the Stormcast, the primary Stormcast color scheme is a bright metallic yellow, but it's gold, but it's a bright gold and blue. So right?
Yeah,
you went through an entire 40 ouncer. You're kind of crazy. I like that.
I haven't had anything to drink in.
You're gonna be knocked the shit out.
Yeah.
Finish it. I don't like that. That's why I gave it for you. I don't like that.
I thought you liked the screwdriver.
Nope. So something to think about. All right. So let's talk about what's going on in the world of Warhammer.
Okay. I was about to say, what's going on in the world? Where do I begin?
So,
I can tell you one thing that's actually kind of fun, and this will be fun for you guys, is apparently I worked out a deal with a clothing maker where in exchange for all the t-shirts that we could ever want, and mugs and coffee mugs and tumblers and stuff like that, they get all their art, graphic art from me for free.
Well, we'll see how that works out. We'll see how it happen. It's not like anybody's buying our merch anyhow.
I know, really.
No one ever buy.
That's why I thought if maybe
maybe we had a couple more designs.
Yeah.
You gotta get me a graphic artist on staff.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Especially one.
That's what I can count on.
Yeah.
That one was a lush.
Well, on that note, thanks for the drink. I think I'm out.
So the world of Warhammer, what's going on in it right now? Do you have any idea?
I know that there was that they announced a new Warcry expansion. That logo shirt, Commodore. Thank you so much for asking. As a matter of fact, sitting on my computer right now, the logo is up, and having discussed with them how to do it, I just have to make sure that I save it in its layers for her.
That's fine. Or you can take it as it is right now and get it up on Teespring.
The lines are too thin.
Okay.
That was the biggest complaint that we had about the other ones, is that the lines and whatnot were too thin.
Okay.
So I'm working on it. I'm working on it at the moment.
Okay, so we need to get a logo shirt up on Teespring as well. A different logo.
I have the one that Heinrich.
We'll figure it out. Something to talk about offline.
Well, I just need a couple hours to do that. But yes, there was the expansion for Warcry, I heard.
Catacombs,
which was kind of like the way it looked at first to me. I didn't read into it. You did. I do know that. You were kind of mumbling at me this morning about it.
Makes me sad.
Ooh, excuse me. But it's kind of like, I guess, their version for Fantasy of Arena.
Mm-hmm.
And it was including some new war bands.
Yep.
which was always nice. However, apparently the box set, they announced today what the box set is, what's got in it, and what it's worth.
Well, not today, but we got the price sneaked out today.
Yeah.
So this thing is going to have 2 warbands in it, which is the 2 new ones.
The
Shadow Canites and
serious stabbies.
Yeah, and some other, I forget what the other group is. But here's the thing about it.
The new slashies. Wasn't it?
No, those are
those are with the upgrade for the new Underworld.
Which we'll be talking about that too.
They've got Jareth with them.
Yeah, no, there's I think it's I don't even know who it is. I honestly don't. I don't remember. The reason I don't remember is because I was so upset when I learned more about this box set. So it's 2 warbands, which is good. Half the amount of terrain of old terrain, not even new terrain, but it's basically half the amount of terrain that was in the original Warcry box set. It doesn't include the cards. It's got a bunch of tokens and stuff now. And it's big. And
32 pieces of terrain. 37. Wow, where the hell did I get 32 out of the? Okay, it's starting to kick in.
37 pieces of terrain too. No, that's the problem. There's not 32 pieces of terrain. There's like 8. There's like 8 pieces of terrain in this box. There's like half the amount of terrain that was in the original starter box. There's 2 warbands and a bunch of tokens and a lore book. And instead of the 140 that the original Warcry box was, this thing is $210.
It's hitting me. My shirt's starting to offend.
Go away. Go away, you drunk lush. It's fine.
I haven't had anything to drink in
a
very long time.
So it's got a very low count of terrain, 2 warbands, and it's half again the price of the original box set. I am a GW fanboy. I'm not going to lie.
Ugh.
36 or 37 pieces of terrain in the new set.
Maybe that's why it's so expensive.
Because the word I was getting was that it had a lot less. If it's got that many pieces of terrain, then we might be back. Then it might be back in the menu. That may be back in the menu then. That's a far more reasonable price then. Because the original set has I have to relook at the price. The last time I looked at the piece, it did not look like it was worth. Yeah, it did not look like it was worth the amount of money they were asking for it. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm still not completely sold. I understand that there was a bell tower, 2 pieces of ruins, and then some tokens. I understand it's for underground battles, and that's fine. The other whiners on people that were talking about it in our specific chat there, Ben, and unfortunately, I can't look at everything at work. I do have to do work at work. But the Warcry people were decrying this because it was half the terrain. And if it's got actual lots of little terrain, I can accept lots of little terrain. But again, how is it that Arena, which had 2 full warbands, a lot of little terrain and a board, basically the same box set, minus a couple pieces of terrain, and it's this much more? Arena's $80. And Arena had 2 warbands in it. Or am I wrong? Does Arena not have any warbands in it? Correct me, Ben. You have Arena. Does it have warbands in it? No, Rogue Trader have warbands. Arena does not. All right. We'll look back, and I'm still not convinced. It does not. That's right. That was Rogue Trader. But Rogue Trader has 2 warbands. Did Rogue Trader have any terrain in it? doors. So regardless, it does not have as much in it as the original Warcry box. To be half again the price is still a bit much. They have been slowly pushing up the prices of boxes over the last year. 140, 150, 160, 185. Now we're seeing 200, 210. I'm going to be honest. I'm waiting right now because I really want to get. In mid-November, there's supposed to be a box set for Age of Sigmar coming out. That's going to have Daughters of Cain and Slaanesh in it. Shannon wants to start doing Daughters of Cain. I want the Slaanesh for my Slaanesh army. And if that's going to be a $200 box set as opposed to a 160 or a 185, again, it's like, how much value am I getting for this? So far, there's one. There is one $300 set that I know of, Commodore, and that is the latest box set for Necromunda. And I'm going to be honest with you. What I have seen is all in that damn box. It's worth $300. It's got a lot. There's that Dark Uprising. That's the name of the box set. The Dark Uprising box set is $290, and I'll terrain to play Warcry. I mean, not Warcry, Kill Team with, but I still enjoy painting and building armies, which is why I can spend money on building and painting armies. I'm having a hard time justifying buying pure terrain that I don't know I'm going to use, which is the terrain I have bought. I specifically bought with the intent of using it right away, trying to find deals on terrain. As y'all know, I recently bought a Kill Team box set or a Kill Team Battle Zone, and I bought the Command Edition box set of terrain, which I'm really pleased by. Kind of the reason I want to start doing this old school Necromunda is because I want to have an excuse to start building my own terrain again. Something new because the old Necromunda, a lot of that was on build your own terrain for this. And I want to be engaged in building some cool looking terrain, especially since Necromunda is all about playing at elevations and heights and angles. So stuff I'm looking at. I don't know. From what I saw from the Warcry, I was seeing the unboxing I saw, it just didn't look like it had enough terrain to be worth a $210 box set, considering how much the base box set was. It just... New season of Underworld is coming out. My game group is talking about getting into it. Original starter was $170. Okay, original starter was $170. I can tell you right now, the amount of terrain in 2 warbands was worth $170. There was a lot of terrain in that box. Again, one of the biggest reasons why I haven't pulled the trigger on buying a Kill Team box set is that you're paying for having the book in there. I already have a copy of the book. And there's not really a lot of terrain in that box set. So I can't see pulling the trigger on that one. Even though I want the figures, there's just not enough terrain in there for me. So yeah, we've been talking about doing Underworlds, and I'm thinking about, that'd be fine. Low cost to get in the game, $85 for the box set. If you want to own a copy of the box set, it comes with 2 armies to start off with. If you want other armies, they're $30 a piece to buy. Every one of them plays very differently. There's a lot of different armies out there. You can find one that fits your flavor, fits your desire. I'm thinking about grabbing a couple of the current ones as it is, just a box set or two of that, just to have the kits. And again, it's all about playing with other people. Well, I have Stormcast, but I don't have the cards. There's a couple of decks of cards you need. I bought the easy to build kits. A little thing to know, the first season... Oh, the cards are in the Night Vault box. Okay. Who's in that? Who are the two armies in the Night Vault box? It's the Briar Queen and who's the other squad? Is that Steelheart or is it the Spellcaster group or is it the Sword and Hammer group? Do you know? Because I already got the Night Vault figures as an easy to build kit for Shan. Hey, big brother, how are you, man? How you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, I mean, I might want to get the Night Vault box anyhow, just because I got Shan a copy of the figures because she just wanted them for her Night Haunt army because they're one of the few war bands that's actually really good in Age of Sigmar. But getting them so we can have the cards, and actually I wouldn't mind painting them just to paint them differently than she's going to paint them. Hey, quick shout out to my brother here, working on some army looking stuff here, even though it is 40K. I gotta still do some of the browns and the blacks, but what do you think of that OD green undercoat there? I thought I got some pretty good shading on there. Going to be using some of those rust effect things and the weathering effect kit you got me on this guy. I want to make this guy look like he's old and decrepit. They pulled him out of mothballs to use him. So, yeah, I mean, there's the nice thing about Underworld, I don't even know how to play it. I mean, it's got cards, it's got dice, it's got figures. It kind of is. It's called a Chimera. It's for the 40K. But what they did is they did some modifications. They put some laser turrets on the back. The whole back end flips down, and they put a laser turret on the top and a dozer plow on the front end. But there's definitely some Bradley and some crosses between the Bradley and the 113 concepts in there when they put this boy together. And again, because my army, my armor is meant to look like modern U.S. armor, I'm trying to do the paint job like that. Actually, one of the pieces I got to do, eventually I need to talk to you about it because they are the curse breaker. So they're the spellcaster dudes. That's cool. That'll be the spellcaster. I don't have that group. That'll be a cool guy to get. They're a cool unit. They're a unit of evocators. So that'll be cool. They're a good unit. That'd be cool. I really want to pick that up. It's a fun box set. It looks fun. I mean, it's a board game, but there's figures and painting, but there's card play and there's dice rolling and it's board game. It sounds like fun. I mean, it sounds like a fun game, and it's something to do other than the same old, same old. That's a big thing. I want to play more games. God, I'm so bored not playing games. So freaking bored not playing games. I mean, painting. Painting's great. I love painting. But gosh, I need to roll some dice. And between my wife's back and the other projects she's working on, she really hasn't had the motivation or time to finish up anything to really play or really get into playing. And my kid is not that much better at this point. So I'm just like, and unfortunately the Saturdays, things have been crazy the last few weeks. And now this week I'm going to be gone. So I'm whining now. I'm whining. I don't get enough time to be cool. Is what it is. But there's a new edition. There's a new season, I guess they're called, of Underworld's coming. So there's a bunch of new figures coming out for it, which I'm kind of excited about. There's a couple of the Warcraft. I mean, going back to Warcraft, there's a lot of new releases coming out. Blood Bowl is getting a new edition where it's all going to be cleaned up and new figures and new condensed rules, calling it second season, which I love the idea of. People have talked about getting Blood Bowl together. I don't know. I used to absolutely adore Blood Bowl. But again, that's another thing, you have to have dedicated people to play that, because you're playing, you want to play. That's kind of a game that really kind of begs to be played in a league type setting. You don't just want to play a one-off game. Oh, that was fun. No, it just, because of the style of game and the desire of the game, you kind of want to have 4, 5, 6, 8 people that are playing it. And so you can have like miniature leagues. And the thing is, there's a lot of leagues for it online. Like if you play Blood Bowl online, there's plenty of leagues for it on there, but I don't know. I'm really super interested in it, but at the same time, I don't know anybody in my local gaming group that's really into Blood Bowl. So it's hard for me to get into it other than just the whole nostalgia portion of Blood Bowl. So we're going to be starting a Blood Bowl league. We're going to be starting an Underworlds league. We're going to be... You actually want to play. All right, well, all right, we got to figure this out then, folks. Yes, we want to do it all. We want to play and play and play and play. We got to have a place to play, Ben. We have to have the ability to meet without the government coming and taking us away and hauling us off in cars. All right, we'll have to board that. We'll have to look at it. Maybe... Maybe if time goes on a little bit further, we'll talk about it a little more then, because we'll look at it. I mean, again, it's all about what people are able and willing and wanting to play. The nice thing about Underworlds is that it is a... Hi. What? The nice thing about Underworlds, it is a low entry barrier to get in. $30, you have an army, you have your cards, and you can play. As long as somebody else has an army and somebody has a box set, you can play. So, worth doing. Which is pretty cool. They gave us a promo and gave us nothing with it other than just the words that the Pariah Nexus is coming to Kill Team. I will tell you what that means to me, and this is completely me speculating. There's no fact in this at all. But if you read the 2 narrative books that have come out, and if you read the lore that's in the current book about this whole Pariah Nexus, this whole current campaign war, the war against the Necrons, is right now happening in a place called the Pariah Nexus. I'm thinking there is a new Kill Team box set coming that's going to be Necrons versus Marines. I'll tell you what it means to me. Okay, Mr. Necron Tell me what it means to you. Because I'm telling you, it's going to be a box set with terrain and new figures. Well, not even really new figures. It's going to be Necrons and Marines, I'm betting. It would be nice to see plastic flayed ones. I will be honest with you. I would love to see plastic flayed ones because those resin ones are garbage. The resin flayed ones are absolute garbage, but they have led to some really cool conversion work. I have seen somebody take a set of warriors and a set of chain rasp hordes and turn them into flayed ones, and they looked really good. So you got your Ghost Brush dry brushes. Excellent. Green stuff skin. There you go. That's actually what what do you call it? Guy from Midwinter Minis did. He actually came up Guy came up with an entire dynasty based on the flayed ones being an entire dynasty affected by the madness the flayed ones have. And so he painted an entire half of his Indomitus box, Necrons, with extra goo and extra flesh and extra green stuff, and made them look like the entirety of that army was like flayed ones. So that was really cool looking. If you're not familiar with Midwinter Minis, just look him up on YouTube. Midwinter Minis, he does this really great Necron conversion. It was very cool. I thought it was just gross, and I love that. And the one I saw a couple online of the chain rasps and the warriors. There's also a guy in my local store who did them to use them for our Kill Team League, and his conversion was absolutely beautiful. Just beautiful job on those. He's the reason I took third place. Damn it. Those Necrons kicked my guys' ass. So yeah. So retro gaming's big. And board gaming's big. I really like the idea of Underworlds because it's meant to be played in quick games. They're meant to play quick games with another person and get a competitive game in and out in like 45 minutes. It's one of the reasons I like Warcry. They're meant to be faster games. I'd really like to get some more Warcry going. I'm going to look at that Warcry box set one more time. If I'm really not pleased with it, I may look at what I can do to recreate my own idea of a underground Warcry situation. We'll see. If nothing else, I might do some new. Sent me a PM. I'll have to look at that when I'm looking at my Facebook. So that being said, we're getting close to 9 o'clock. I like more. I like the fact that they're not giving up on Warcry. I like the fact they're not giving up on Kill Team. I like the fact that they're keeping Underworlds going. I like that they're keeping these smaller games going. I like that Necromunda is getting a lot of attention. Even though Necromunda doesn't seem to be very popular in the area that I play, I like to see them they keep these specialist games going because it's alternate ways to get people involved in the hobby. I love the old Necromunda. I used to play the heck out of it. I haven't played it in like 25 years or so. I'm actually going to be going over the rules, building some terrain for it, rebuilding the old terrain because it's complete there, and trying to get a couple friends together to play a campaign by the old rules. I meant the characters, it's kind of like the old campaign for Necromunda. People gained experience and they went up in level, and you bought them skills or attributes based on the XP they earned. And, you know, people dying was a big deal and it was a problem. You know, people could get shot and fall down, not necessarily die. So kind of an interesting thing. And certain gangs only had access to certain abilities and certain guns and super weapons. So Necromunda is a lot of fun that way. Yeah, Mordheim. You know, there's another game that I wish there is a non-GW version of Mordheim. It's not Mordheim, but it is Mordheim. It's a very similar called Frostgrave. Mordheim, yeah, that's exactly what Mordheim was, and that's exactly what Frostgrave is. And Mordheim was really great, and if you still have the stuff for it, is really great. Again, it's another one of those games that you have to have some dedicated people to play the game. One of my friends was telling me that he had a group of people that were dedicatedly playing Frostgrave. I've seen some really great terrain builds, doing some ruined medieval houses and ruined medieval villages to do Frostgrave in. And I thought that'd be great. But that would just be terrain taking up room on my shelf because nobody's playing that game right now. So I think I'm going to be doing some sci-fi stuff. Going to be doing some ruins and some chemical plant stuff and some underground bunker stuff and maybe some catwalky type, ash waste type stuff. I got a bunch of different ideas. Then I give it away. Yes, actually, I might give some of it away. Because as you know, every quarter, I do give away something to one of my top tier patrons. So I think we're going to wrap up here. A lot going on this week. Like I said, a lot of stuff going on pre-order this week. Nothing for 40K proper, which is okay. Nothing for Age of Sigmar proper, which is okay. You need a couple weeks a month where they're just focusing on their secondary market games and their smaller market games, because that builds people to come and play the big stuff too. That being said, I love all of you very much. Thank you so much. Quick shout out to all my Patreon members. Inquisitor Zane, Mini Wormut, Heinrich Botha, what do you call it? Kaiju Shorts, Mythos Kush Renata, James Meeks, Flight of the Phoenix, and the Commodore. You guys really help me out. A couple bucks here every month really helps out. Helps us buy stuff. Helps us get nice upgraded mic. So thank you so much for that. Thank you all so much. Take care of each other. Wear your damn masks. Be careful out there. Wash your hands. Be good to each other. And we will talk to you soon. Epic your board and epic your game. And remember, a good amount of terrain makes any good game great. So make more terrain. Have a wonderful night and take care.